This is the burial place of William Clark. He was born in Lowell in 1842. His father worked for the Lowell and Boston Railroad. Tragically, his father was killed in a railroad accident when William was just a young man. When the Civil War began, William Clark enlisted in the United States Army. He served in the 13th Massachusetts Infantry Regiment until a chronic illness he developed in camp caused him to get a medical discharge from the Army. He still wanted to contribute to the war effort, however, so he found a job at the War Department as a civilian clerk and lived in Washington, D.C. He rented a room and he continued to work for the War Department until the end of the Civil War. On the evening of Friday, April 14, 1865, Washington was in a celebratory mood because General Lee had surrendered and it was clear the war was over. So like many other young people at the time, William went out to celebrate. He stayed out late that evening. When he returned home, he tried to enter his boarding house where he rented a bedroom, but a large crowd outside prevented him from going in. Well, that boarding house was owned by a man named William Petersen, and it was on 10th Street. It was right across the street from Ford's Theater. Earlier that evening, President Abraham Lincoln, who had been watching a performance at the theater, was shot in the head by John Wilkes Booth. Although mortally wounded, Lincoln did not die right away. Instead, people who came to his assistance carried him across the street into the nearest house, the Petersen House, and lay him in the nearest bed, the bed normally occupied by William Clark of Lowell, Massachusetts. The vigil over the president lasted till early the next morning when he died of his wounds. His body was removed, everybody left, and William was allowed to go back into his room. Over the next 2 weeks, in a series of letters he wrote to his sister back in Lowell, he recounted what was going on in his life at that time. In one, he said that the president's blood stained the pillow and the comforter of his bed. In another, he said that he was going to go to the White House that day and bring the president's boots to his son, Robert Lincoln. A few weeks later, he wrote another letter saying he was going to have to move out of the room because people continuously were breaking in and stealing things to get a souvenir of the room in which the president died. Well, William eventually did come back to Lowell. He stayed here for a short time and he went to Boston, where he worked as a clerk in a retail store. He lived until he was only age 42 when he died of a heart attack in 1888. But he is buried here alongside his father in Lowell Cemetery. And that's the story of William Clark.